Well, I think the retention, a lot of it was triggered by how our season went in 2018. As we all know, there was a big auction and we assembled a new team. Practically, we had retained only Sunil Narine and Andre Russell. So it was practically a new squad and we were quite excited about how the season evolved. So from a retention standpoint, a lot of it was took care of itself in many ways with Chris Lynn, Sunil Narine, Robin, Shubman Gill, DK as the skipper, Rana, Andre Russell, Rinku Singh, Kuldeep Yadav, Piyush, Mavi, Prasid Krishna, who did a great job for us. And we obviously, although Kamlesh Nagarkoti was unfit last year and he is still recovering, we just felt that with the kind of skills and the ability that he has, that we always picked him with that intention and we have retained him with the same intention. So I think that's pretty much our retentions. I hope I haven't left anyone out. But on the releases, typically it's always a very difficult decision to release players because we've always been one big family and everyone in their own way come and contribute, whether they play or they don't play. But this is always an opportunity to fine-tune the squad and look at strategy going forward and ways in which we can do some adjustments. So from that perspective, we work through it. Well, it seemed that way last year, but to the credit of our young Indian pacers, like Prasid was actually drafted as a replacement for Nagarkoti, and Mavi really came on really well with our three spinners and with Andre completing the sixth bowling option. It was thankfully we really didn't miss that option too much, but it's difficult to say. I think what it did was, because our Indian pacers came along so well, I think it opens up some interesting options on the type of skills that we might look for. It need not be a pace bowler. It can be different types of skills that we might be interested in. So let's wait and see as to how our strategy would evolve. Just by the time the auction comes around. Well, it clearly is. I think it has been picked up out of context. I think because we've had a great relationship, Mitch Stark and ourselves. And last year when we picked him, he was not only over the moon, but he was very appreciative of the confidence that we had shown in him. And he was extremely disappointed that he couldn't come last year. So were we, frankly. I think it left a big, important hole in our lineup. And this time when we had the exchange of messages and conversation, I think he was very, very appreciative of where we were coming from. He understood, and also a big part of what's going to happen in releases, I'm sure it will reflect it, and the way the auction would go as well would be heavily dependent on availability of players, given that the World Cup is coming around. Plus, Australian teams, apparently the Australian board has pretty much said that all their players who are featuring in IPL, who will feature in World Cup, have to return no later than the 1st of May. And English players as well, has been said. So I think that will be an important consideration. So keeping all this in mind, he understood fully where we were coming from. So it was a very, very cordial and a very professional type of an exchange. So I read his interview, and he didn't I don't think he meant anything differently, but media has very nicely picked it up and put a different spin on it. But I'm sure it'll be all right. Well, I think conscious strategy was to invest in the youngsters because it was a big auction. And we just felt that if with the kind of skills that we had seen with these youngsters, that it could, if they all came good, which they did, fortunately for us, including Prasid, who was a youngster, Mavi and Shubman and Nagarkoti and Rinku, and some of these guys like Rana are not very old either. So I think we have a really good core there. I mean, let me not forget Kuldeep. I mean, Kuldeep is somehow seen as a little bit of a veteran these days, but he's a youngster. When we picked him from when he played the Under-19 World Cup. So we've had a bit of a history of doing that, and it's great to see how the youngsters have just grabbed the opportunity with both arms and enjoyed the atmosphere, enjoyed the environment that we have been able to provide, and looked at the big stage and have done well. So I think it's a very conscious strategy, and really good to see these youngsters coming good. Well, I think the whatever is the gap needs to be filled, which will get us the trophy. So I don't know what gap that is, to be honest, because I think the fact that we were only one game away from going to the final was a great testament to the way the think tank operated and assembled a squad. You can always look back and say, oh, we wish we had this, we wish we had that. I'm sure every team is doing that. But I think we are in a fairly happy position where we feel that all bases are pretty much covered. There might be some backup type of options, as well as maybe a gap here and there that we need to look at. But I think it's good to be in this situation where you show confidence in the first 12, 13 players, and you expect them to really do the job, and at the same time have enough backups to make sure that, God forbid, if there are injuries or something of that sort, that you're able to still field a very strong team. So I don't know what gap that is, but hopefully whatever it is, I'm sure we'll be able to address it appropriately. I think everyone will keep that in mind, but it's very difficult to plan without knowing what it's going to be, because we don't know still. I think, as everybody has said, it all depends on election dates, and we have a 2009 model which was in South Africa. We have a 2014 model which was a combination of India and UAE. So from what I'm hearing, based on the dates, is what will determine. But it'll be one or the other, it looks like, because it does seem like it'll be very difficult to have all of it in India. Although, who knows? I mean, there might be a scenario where they might come up with that as well. So I think what you need to do is, we're very fortunate, I think, that keeping conditions in mind of all three countries and the possibilities, I think we still have a very balanced team which has the ability to do really well. We have quality spinners, we've got quality pace bowlers, and we have batsmen who can play under any types of conditions. So I think we're pretty happy with where we are right now. It'll be nice to know where we're going to play, but certainly I don't think that's going to happen before the auction. So we'll have to do the best we can and then keep our fingers crossed.